Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in just a second. I've got Tom joining us as well. Thank you for giving us just a few minutes to get connected and in. We'll be starting in about 60 seconds on artificial intelligence, opportunities and risks for special districts. I'll be right back. All right. Hello and good morning and good afternoon, depending on which coast you're joining us from today. We've got a lot of folks here, and you're already introducing yourself. Thank you. You know the drill. You've been on a Streamline webinar before. Thanks for giving us a few extra minutes as well. I'm calling in from an island today with satellite internet. Well, even though we are on vacation, theoretically, this is a really important and one of our favorite topics. So Tom is joining me today. Alex is going to be watching for questions. And Melissa Oakes is a panelist too, because Melissa Oakes is now just an expert in all manner of things special district related. So Melissa, I'm glad to see you joining us as well. Always here to add in great feedback and input. Okay, we got folks from all over. We've got Jennifer. Hey, good to see you. Peggy, Andrea, Rick, B, Randall. Well, we've got practically 100 people joining us today from all over. Some of you may have seen this topic before, and for some of you, this may be brand new, and it is one of our favorite topics. Tom, as our resident cybersecurity expert and operations manager, is joining me as well. And we're going to cover a few different areas. First is we're going to be covering the AI revolution, like how this emerging technology is going to change the way that we live and work, especially in the district space. Second thing is we're going to look at the power, like everything from writing a press release, analyzing a budget, summarizing documents, even writing a poem. We're going to show all of that today. And then we're going to talk about the risks and legal challenges, of which there are many. And so we'll be jumping into that as well. All right, so let's begin. And I always love this graphic, so it has begun. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to warm up with some key terms, and we're going to, because there's so much lingo in the world of artificial intelligence. So we're going to jump in and talk through some of these. And we're going to look and kind of match up each one. So one fun way to guess is to kind of throw into chat the letter that you're thinking this is, and it's going to be a little bit of a discussion. So we're going to start with the term artificial intelligence. So those of you who think it is A, type in A. If you think it's B, type in B. Let's just get a quick pulse and see sort of what we're thinking here. Just pop them into chat.
I think everybody's reading through the answers still. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Few coming through.
Okay, we got some votes for A. Lynn and Cordelia. But Tina's leaning more toward D as well as Nola and Sean. Okay, we got some more A's.
Looks like it's a race between A and E at this point.
I don't know. It's moving toward E. Well, you E lovers. Okay, now they're coming in hard on E. All right, you're right. You're right. It's not that it isn't A, but A is actually kind of related. Artificial intelligence is the overarching term. It's the theory and development of tech that's able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition. It's the broad category overall. Now, it is related to machine learning, however, which is machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence that enables this all to go a little bit deeper. And so that is most of what we're seeing in the world today, in my opinion, is not actually artificial intelligence, but it is machine learning. And that is allowing computers to learn without having to explicitly be programmed. It's very helpful. It's very easy from the technologist standpoint to do that. And that's why those two terms are so related. All right, next, generative AI. Any guesses on the letters here? Okay, Sean's kicking us off. Big vote for B here. Okay, Lynn Sheedy's right behind him on B. Yep. David agrees. B Johnson, nope. Yeah, Kelly Ewing's also agreeing on B.
Yeah.
B. Yep. Generative AI. Generative AI is the flavor of artificial intelligence that is creating new images and text from prompts. We'll be demonstrating that for you today, and it'll be very, very exciting. Okay, ChatGPT. Oh, dang, I gave it away. Well, I think how many of you are familiar with ChatGPT? Maybe. Yep. Yeah.
Lynn is, she knew right away.
Okay, yeah, that's a little bit. Some of you, maybe your kids have played around with it or tried to use it to do their homework. I don't know. That could be possible. We're going to talk about it today and how you as a district could appropriately use it and things to be careful. Okay, James, you've used it as well. You raised your hand. Thank you. Okay, and last but not least, we've got OpenAI. Well, it's probably not hard to match this up. The last one's not much of a surprise. It's the only one not linked. OpenAI, people have asked, what is OpenAI? Is that like open source? Is that something else? OpenAI is the company that created ChatGPT and some other leading tools. They began as a nonprofit and they're slowly turning into a for-profit company. It's kind of a weird sort of hybrid, and they are behind a lot of the leading technologies. Okay. All right. Well, y'all did great. Actually, I think you really zeroed in on those terms. We wanted to establish this vocabulary as we start on this process. Okay. Now, to zoom out, just putting on my computer scientist hat here, because in my heart, I'm a computer nerd before pre-Streamline or everything else. That's what I went to school to do. And back in my day, we learned computer programming, and we learned how, at the core, computer programming is about converting input to output, whether the input is what somebody's typing in on the computer or what the computer is reading as input from a camera or a sensor, and creating output. Now, back in the day, it was pretty easy. If you're programming a doorbell, somebody pushes the doorbell, it rings, that creates a ring sound. Or, like a garage door opener. I was dealing with my garage door opener the other day. There's like this little infrared camera thing to like, hey, if something's in the way, it blocks that infrared sensor. It'll stop the garage from closing. Very simple. It was binary. It was on and off. But machine learning has created a whole new dimension for how computers can be programmed. Tom's going to give us an example that will warm your heart.
Yeah.
This example.
So, there was a fun example that I found. I was kind of stuck in the YouTube rabbit hole, going down, watching all sorts of fun videos of people just creating different things and using machine learning in fun ways. And there was a video by a kid. He was probably 15 or 16 years old, and he wanted to learn. He was just getting into machine learning, had a little bit of computer knowledge, and he had this issue. It was actually his mom's issue, and he took it upon himself to solve that for her, where on their front porch, she had a few different plants, like small little planter boxes. And they were, every night, some of those plants would get nibbled on by different, whether it was deer, critters, whatever it ended up being. There was these animals that were coming and nibbling on her plants, and she was not happy about it. So her son, the kid who made this video that I was watching, he used machine learning to, instead of something straightforward like Max said, push a doorbell and it rings. Instead, he went a step further and said, I'm going to set up a little camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use machine learning to teach this camera what is kind of acceptable and what is not acceptable. What is acceptable is somebody walking up to the door, somebody just being on the front porch. What's not acceptable is if there's an animal crawling up on the porch or coming in that way. And if the camera sees an animal, it would actually turn on a sprinkler and kind of do a quick pass across their front porch and scare off whatever animal was sneaking up there without hurting it or anything like that. But if the Amazon delivery driver showed up and wanted to drop off a package, they wouldn't suddenly get hosed down just trying to do their job. So it was a fun example of how machine learning can be so powerful, because to type the logic of trying to tell a computer this is what a person looks like is very, very difficult. But using machine learning, you can give it these positive examples of, hey, this is what a person looks like, and this is not what a person looks like, and train it on kind of that success and failure states there. And if it ever identifies something wrong, you say, hey, that was wrong. This was the correct answer. It's now going to learn off of that and take that feedback for the next iteration.
And it's easier to teach somebody than it is to program an algorithm. It's so
Yeah.
much easier. It saves time, but there is the risk you accidentally spray your neighbor when they're bringing you cookies that they nibble on or something, and it triggers the wrong thing. And therein lies the opportunity and the risk. Now, taking even a larger picture view and thinking about, artificial intelligence and the impact that it's going to have in terms of, our impact on GDP growth. And this is from Goldman Sachs, published just last year. How much more productive in terms of percentage do you think AI will make us relative to the impact of the personal computer? Are we thinking, 100% more, 200% more, 50% more? How much more of an impact will it have than the impact of the personal computer? Now, granted, the personal computer hasn't been all productivity. I mean, I know some of you play solitaire on your computer. I definitely have. Sometimes it's both increase in productivity and distraction, but overall, computers have had a significant improvement. I'd love to hear your guesses in chat. How much more of an impact will AI have compared to that of the personal computer? Okay, this is when we cue the Jeopardy music to play in the background.
They're all looking it up right now. They
Okay,
get the
well,
right answer.
Randall bravely kicked us off with a 35% guess. Christine said 600. Betsy said 1,000. Betsy, is that 1,000% or 1,000? Holly says incalculable. Holly, you're probably right on that. James admitted he has no idea. B, meanwhile, says 200. Okay, we're guessing percentages here.
Yeah, I would say all increases, like 200% increase.
Uh-huh.
Lynn, tons of increase.
Lynn, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, with tons of increase, 50%, it depends on the industry. Yes, Kathy brings out a good point.
That's a
Goldman
good
Sachs is doing this macroeconomically, like what the impact is. Shockingly, the closest one in here is actually the 1,000. It is even more than that. It is a 100x impact. So, Holly's incalculable is probably a very relevant answer here, for the impact of that, in terms of relative to personal computer. I mean, that's insane. 100% more impact than that of the personal computer. Just soaking that in for a minute, because it will allow for so much more productivity. And what are we going to do with all that productivity, you might ask? Well, let's take a look at the power. So here's where Tom and I are going to drive a little bit and dig in. And this should be interesting because we're going to show some examples of what's possible. So the first thing we're going to do is look at a newsletter. So how many of you have newsletters currently for your districts? Okay, handful of hands are going up. And for those of you who maybe do not have newsletters, why not? At Streamline, we always want to see people empower communication, connect those communities. But if you think about, why not? One of the
That
big things that comes up, yeah, Peggy, not enough time.
answers.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great answer. Well, what if I told you that we could make you a newsletter in 5 minutes for your district? Okay, I need a brave volunteer. Yeah, you might have monthly e-news. You might, yeah, time and content, as Dustin's saying. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Well, Okay, so who wants to be our volunteer? Peggy, are you going to be our volunteer? Okay, Christine Crawford, I want that. All right, you've come to the right place. Well, Tom and I are going to jump in and we're going to help you whip one up here. Okay, we need a brave volunteer. Okay, so Tom, you're going to help read to me because I'm trying to multitask here. I'm
Yeah,
not
Chris.
on my workstation with all the monitors, so we're gonna kind of bum through this. All right, so we are going to select. I think I think Peggy volunteered first, so
Okay.
we're gonna try Peggy. Peggy, what's the name of your district? Let's see, we might have it if she said
Yeah,
earlier.
it's just Round Mountain Water and Sanitation.
Okay, in Colorado. Okay, so I said, help me create a newsletter for Peggy Quint. Now, what's going on right now is I'm using ChatGPT. This is one of the more popular tools. This is one that you can sign up for free. They've got some paid plans and other things, but I think with a cell phone number and an email, you can sign up for this. And it's a lot of fun. I just asked ChatGPT to help me make a newsletter. Let's see what happens.
Oh, it's giving you options.
Oh, okay. So one fun thing about this is you literally never know what ChatGPT is going to do. Okay, so we actually get to rate which one we like more. So let me zoom out a little bit here. All right. So it's giving me two different ones. September 2024 edition. Welcome from the general manager, Peggy. Peggy, are you the general manager or did you just get a promotion courtesy of ChatGPT? um, so let's see. We've got
I'll take it.
I'll take it. Okay, this comes into the process of hallucinating, which we'll talk about in a little bit. All right, so we'll read the one on the left. Dear Round Mountain Water and Sanitation, I hope this newsletter finds you well as we move into the fall season. We have some important updates regarding our water and sanitation services, ongoing projects, ways that you can stay engaged. We're committing to ensure high quality uh, projects. So here's some things we're working on: infrastructure improvements, water conservation efforts, community involvement, emergency preparedness. Contact us if you have any questions. And so just like that. Now it also gave us another version on the right, and we can vote on which one we like. One, fall water line maintenance starting in October, water line flushing. So anyway, just like this. Now, what's important to know, I mean, it's pretty incredible what in just a few minutes it would whip up. Now, Peggy, do you have a preferred response? One on the left or the right? We are going to give a little feedback to ChatGPT. And
Yeah.
Chris, I'm going to get right back to your question in a second. When you said, what is it sourcing? Probably the one on the left. Okay, so we're going to say we prefer this response. So now Christine asks the $1 million question. What is it sourcing? Website information? You know, Christine, sometimes it is learned from millions and billions of examples, but it does not always cite its sources. And this is one of the big things with how these tools work. They are called large language models, and they are using a system of token prediction to kind of produce what's next. So I have this like as an example. How many of you have like an iPhone or an Android? Probably most of you. Remember how it says here, here, I'll stop this for just a second. I'm going to give you a brief overview of how large language models work by showing you how a small language model works. On your cell phone, I have this thing called Note to Tom, and then I've got these little words here, which, like you can type this little predictive text. I can write Tom a note. Ready? Here we
Oh,
go. Oops,
little
I'm
lower.
wrong part. Right. Oh, wow, look I'm writing Tom a note. All I'm doing is clicking the next word, and it's writing a little sentence. That's literally how ChatGPT works. It's more advanced. This is a small language model to predict what's coming next. Here's what I wrote you, Tom. The only way I could be a better player than you are right here in this picture of me is to play the guitar in your ear with the guitar, and I can tell that you're not going to get a better one of me. It's like, that's a very low-tech version, but it's like predicting what comes next. Michelle says, I don't know whether to be impressed or scared. Um, it's amazing and it's scary. Now, this is what happened with ChatGPT. They had Model 2, Model 3, and it kind of was like what happened on my phone. It was like, yeah, okay, it's kind of interesting and original. But then they trained it, they helped it stay on topic, and then it turned into what we see today, which is this incredibly accurate information. And when you keep it topical, what it's able to predict is really quite accurate. But what's actually happening underneath the hood is just this token prediction process, which is not inherently accurate. And hence, you get stuff like this that is kind of made up. Now, what you can do, fortunately, is you can talk to ChatGPT and you can say, hey, actually, will you use this information? So, like, if we go to Brown Water Mountain and Sanitation District, and I opened up here. Okay, oops, hold on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so if I go here and I say, hey, I want to include some content for here, or I want to put some information on our wastewater demonstration treatment, I can take this content and I can feed it into ChatGPT and I can ask it to summarize it for me. I can ask it to write some content in here. I can take out all kinds of stuff here, other kinds of content. So I can say, hey, take and summarize this paragraph. And you'll see it can write a very succinct, a succinct summary of content on one of the pages. And I can even say, write a one paragraph summary about this district. And here it is. Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District, located in Colorado, serves the local community by managing this and this and that. And anyway, it will whip up content. So it's
Matt,
trained. It's
real
trained on.
real quick is another example to answer MJ's question here about how would we have different content next month. This first newsletter that it wrote for us was for September. So looking forward to October. If you want to, Mac, kind of, you feel free to get creative here on what the district has going in October. But maybe there's saying, hey, using this same newsletter template, do an October newsletter that highlights the Halloween party that we are hosting, or the trunk or treat extravaganza, something along those where, and that's that example of you can put in your specific information that you want it to use. What it's really going to be helpful for is that overall broad, getting the structure out there for you.
Yep. And here,
And
just for fun, brainstorm us a calendar of newsletter article titles, 3 each month for the next 3 months. And so I could ask it to help me brainstorm. There are things that ChatGPT is really good at, like brainstorming, marketing, a little bit of BS. Honestly, ChatGPT is great.
yeah, and
Alex is on the line. She's our marketer. We can't say anything too negative about marketing. No, but it's true, right? It can be a little bit more approximate.
a great note from David, though. Always review the info that it puts out. And we're going to touch on that as well. It is a great starting point. We don't consider this a replacement, something that is going to write the newsletter for you. What it's going to do is get you to that maybe 60 or 70% off, or that 60 or 70% mark that you can then finish it off and really tailor it to your district and what you need. Keep a human in the loop. I like that.
Yep. But now, what other things can it create, Tom, like besides just text? Well, there's not only can it create textual content, it can help with, a little bit of grant writing. And I don't know if some of you are joining, those of you in California, we've got another webinar on grants at noon. And it's pretty interesting because it can help with grant writing. It can even help, you can even ask it for citations and it will even give you citational references. It can help even write poetry. So if I just wanted to say, hi, write a poem about Peggy and the district, 10 lines in the form of Dr. Seuss. Watch. Peggy runs the water with a smile and a cheer. At Round Mountain Districts, she's held quite dear. She juggles the pipes, both big and small, ensuring the water flows right for all. With leaks and repairs, she's always on call, but Peggy won't stop until she fixes them all. She talks to the board with a confident glow while keeping our rivers and streams in flow. So here's to our hero with grit and grin at Round Mountain Water, where she'll always win. Ha! So hey, you could put a poem in your newsletter if you wanted. Okay, that one's definitely getting a thumbs up. You can do limericks. You can do bedtime stories for your kids. You can include all kinds of stuff. It's pretty amazing. And I think what's so amazing about this technology now, of course, this is the part of our presentation where we look at the power. Um, and you can also do things like create a graphic of Peggy. Now, Peggy, what is your favorite color? And I want somebody else in chat to name a random object.
Purple is the color.
Okay, purple is the color, and we're going to integrate baseball and a dinosaur. Okay, so she's going to in front of a purple dinosaur playing baseball. Okay, we are going to create a graphic that this world has never seen before for a number of reasons. I don't know how many. I don't think that ChatGPT has ever seen an image of a purple dinosaur playing baseball with Peggy in front of this district. Let's see what it creates. But it will take, just like it does with words, it'll take all the images, use a diffusion model, and create a graphic that is completely original using its Dolly algorithm. Here is a graphic of Peggy standing in front of a purple dinosaur playing baseball. Let us know if you'd like any adjustments. Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, here's Peggy from the district with her water hat, and there is a purple dinosaur playing baseball. Just like that, we have created some really cool content that's awesome, available, and so forth. And this has come such a long way. The technology has really, really improved. And, this is the power. And if you need a quick newsletter for your graphic or a graphic for your newsletter, here you go. You've got that capability.
We've actually got a great example as well of a district at Streamline who, during their onboarding process, they were very kind of excited about getting a new website and wanting to be more engaged with their community, and said, we've never done a newsletter before. And so I had some one-on-one time with them and showed them exactly what we're showing you here today. And so this is a quick little preview shot of the November newsletter that we put together. And it was using the same tactics that you just saw, where we said, hey, we want a November newsletter coming from this district to the community. Here are some of the things that we really want to touch on. And you can see those first three items there: fire safety, turkey fryer safety, and smoke alarms. It was going to be kind of this was their example of how it would look this coming fall and November, to prep people for Thanksgiving and making sure that they're safe. We had another one, which we don't have included here, but it was actually like a winter image, and it had a little snowman holding a fire hose, I think it was. And so we were able to have a lot of fun with it on the call, but it also was faster than it would have taken really this district to just write the one newsletter. So we were able to learn, mess with it, have a good time, and still accomplish what we were going for in a quick, timely manner.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ChatGPT can be a great assistant as long as you double check everything. So we just wrote some poetry together, but a more practical inspection, Costa Mesa Sanitary District in California, they were able to save $100,000 a year. And this is even before ChatGPT. They were early pioneers. They used some machine learning. They had a GoPro that they would fix onto the front of their cars. They'd drive around and take pictures of the manhole covers, and then using machine learning, it would basically go back and recommend the ones that needed full inspections. So before they had to close off the streets, have people stand out there, it could be disruptive, but they came out with a better way to do this. So I love this. This is a great example of special district leading the way. And because they've got limited time, limited budgets, they're always looking for ways to do their jobs better. But again, they've got those people coming back and double checking everything. How many of you use Excel currently? Okay, probably a lot of you are going to raise. I'm going to raise my hand. as somebody who does that. And this is really something that many of you, I think, can relate to. I'm going to go ahead and open this up.
Well, while you're getting that up, I'm going to respond to a question from MJ here. The image generation, to be able to do as much as you want, is reserved for the like premium paid version of ChatGPT, but I believe they allow it is open to the free version. You're just limited on how often you can do it. I think it's like a daily count that resets.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. All right, let me show you now how this same kind of artificial intelligence can help you do things in Excel. This is introducing Copilot, which is actually now available for use. Check it out.
Copilot in Excel helps you make sense of all your data. Say you need to analyze this quarter's sales results. You start by asking Copilot to analyze the data and give you 3 key trends. Within seconds, you've got what you need, but you want to drill in. You ask Copilot a follow-up question about one of the trends. Copilot creates a new sheet, giving you a sandbox to play in and helping you better understand what's happening. You ask Copilot to visualize what contributed to the decline in sales growth this period. Copilot adds a little color to make the problem jump off the page. Now you want to dig deeper and ask a follow-up question with a what-if scenario. Copilot not only answers your question, it creates a simple model and even asks if you want to learn more about what it did, with a step-by-step breakdown. Finally, you can ask it to create a graph of your projected model. Copilot in Excel turned a sea of data into clear insights and actions.
Pretty amazing. Now we are starting to see what that 100x more productive could be based on. It's really exciting to see that.
Yeah, we're also it's something that it's so powerful and it exists in so many different realms that it's something that obviously we're very excited about and want to bring to the Streamline platform and make it kind of all-in-one spot for you to be able to utilize. This isn't something that's ready to go yet. It's something that we're diving into and trying to bring to reality. But you can see this example page here where it's, hey, here's the PDF that talks about our water conservation rebates. How much nicer would it be rather than having that PDF there that people have to click on and download and do all that? Instead, if all of the information in that PDF could quickly be summarized and put immediately onto your page. So this is where we hope to go kind of in the future, but it's still something that you can do right now using the same tools that we've been showing. So even if it's not baked into the platform yet, the same way that we asked ChatGPT to generate some images for us, we can actually feed it a document that says, hey, here's our document about water conservation and our rates. Can you summarize this and turn it into a web page for me? That output that it gives you, you can then move to your website, review it. Like we've had a few members recommend in here, review it, make sure that information is correct, and then add any graphics you'd like as you go. Yeah. We do utilize this technology already in some ways on the platform. So this is a great example right here. We have this picture of this building. It's on fire. There's fire trucks. There's in the bottom left corner, a guy is walking away from us. There's so much detail that we understand. But when you have to look at this from an accessibility mindset, how would you write the alt text on this? It would be extremely difficult to have a succinct description of what this is and what you should focus on. And a lot of alt text generators that would try to say, here's what's going on in this picture. It would kind of output what's on the left there. That left example may contain truck, fire, brick, grass, man, sky, parking lot. If somebody told you that, if I had my eyes closed and they said, picture truck, fire, brick, grass, man, sky, parking lot, I would have no idea what's going on. However, if somebody said a hook and ladder truck extends onto a burning building with firefighters and another yellow truck in the foreground, it paints a much clearer picture. So when we're focused on this accessibility forward aspect and making sure that everybody who comes to our website is going to have a similar experience to the best of our capabilities, this is where AI is so powerful. And this is something that we're already utilizing on our platform to generate these alt text captions for you. It looks like we have a couple questions to hop on really quick. Can AI summarize a PowerPoint presentation into a one-page elevator speech? That's a great question. As far as the format of the PowerPoint presentation goes, it might be tricky. I have not given ChatGPT a PowerPoint presentation yet. But what you could definitely do if it doesn't really play nice with that file type is pull that information out and say, here's like the content of my PowerPoint presentation, just in a block of text. Can you please summarize this into a one-page elevator speech? And it's going to be able to handle that just fine, just like you saw us doing live earlier.
Well, you can also export it to PDF, and it can read in the PDF. So that's
Okay.
another way you can do that. I used ChatGPT the other day I was going on this retreat, and they sent me this pretty graphic that was like, here are all the things that are happening throughout the week. And I was like, you guys, this is not a very helpful format. I mean, it's very pretty and it has this picture of the sunset in the background, but like, I need this put into my calendar. And it was in a different time zone. So I was like trying to put it all in, and I was like, screw it. So I send it into ChatGPT and I said, will you please make this so I can add it to my calendar? But this is taking place in this time zone. And will you take these and create, a VCF file so I could import it into my my Google Calendar? And it did. And it did it accurately. And it created 26 appointments and it put them into my calendar. It was very cool. And it explained to me what I need to do to get it imported into my calendar. It was that moment, and that was like a month ago. I was like, dang, this technology is really getting helpful. And so I gotta say, it's been impressive. Now, Dustin asked a great question. Have you tried to use ChatGPT to make PDFs ADA accessible? Dustin, I have had mixed results with that. And as much as we're talking about the joys and the privileges of PDFs, yes, we believe that there's enormous ways that AI can help, but that is a more complex topic unto itself. The early versions of PDF generation, and I know I was working with our product team on this, we had some really eye-opening things. Because one of the things that happens is it malfunctioned in a pretty tragic way. So I asked it to summarize a PDF. In the early versions of it, for those nerds of you out there like me, it uses this OCR engine called Tesseract that is like open source and stuff. And it basically, like, for whatever reason, didn't read this photocopy scanned PDF correctly. And it basically took all the words together with no spaces. And we've heard a lot of horror stories around PDF accessibility. I actually talked to a person with a disability in Colorado who it was like a evacuation notice or something read to them one letter at a time. And they didn't have time to like contact the district or anything else. They had to sit and hear it read to them one letter at a time. There's a lot of things that can get messed up. And so what happened in that case is, so we asked ChatGPT to summarize it, but because all the text was just junk, we asked it to summarize what happened in this meeting. It made up a meeting. It said, John Doe called the meeting to order. Then so-and-so adjourned the meeting. It sounded like a meeting, but it like never happened, and had made up dates, made up times, and made up topics. So like the only worst thing you could do, other than not having something for a user with disability, is like literally give them a fake meeting that never happened, that's like believable. And so we, again, urge caution. The best thing you can do with a PDF is to leverage an accessibility service or to use it to assist you, but to always manually check and to make sure that the content is accurate. I can't endorse AI to make something as important as web accessibility to be trusted on its own yet, but we can definitely give you some tips on how you can meet it or summarize it. Yes. Okay. So Christine is asking, can you show again how you would feed ChatGPT a document to summarize? You know what? That's a great question. Let's shall we dive into that for a second, Tom, on this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm gonna go find, let's see, I'm gonna take the Round Mountain Water, and let's see if I can just grab, there's a DOLA presentation on here. It's a PowerPoint file. Okay, I'm gonna see if it can read the PowerPoint file. Okay, just a second. I'm gonna try sharing my screen. I'm not sure that it can, but then again, Microsoft owns, oh yes, it does. Look at this, Microsoft OneDrive. I was like, here's where Microsoft owning 10% of ChatGPT might be just right. Okay.
Mike.
Fingers crossed. You know, whenever we demonstrate AI live, I just say it's kind of like a live animal demonstration. You like don't really know what's going to happen. So, okay, here we go. So I just uploaded this and I said, based on the content of the presentation you shared, here it is. It's writing a summary of the PowerPoint presentation. So what happens every time we demonstrate this, it can do something new that it couldn't the last time we demonstrated it because it's evolving every time. And so pretty cool. It went ahead and summarized it. So Peggy, is this correct? Is this an accurate? Peggy says, wow. So you know what would be really great actually for our users with disabilities is see, I could go back to this and I could say like, Peggy, I would need your permission to make this live edit. But like if we went back to Peggy's website and
Yeah,
we
Peggy, are you okay with this being posted on your site if it looks correct?
Okay, so what's really nice here is I'm just going to say, look, we're add some text. Tom's going to ask for her permission, but I think I could now just summarize this DOLA presentation. And now, like when I come here, I get a little bit more information on what this is before I download it. And I think this is cool. So Peggy, if you want to make some tweaks to that, feel free. But I think just these nice little pieces, you know, can really help build out your website more. And again, as Tom mentioned, you know, we're working on some new technology for Streamline customers that's going to make this easy for you, you know, where you can click around and pull in this awesome new technology to make your websites better.
Yeah. And to focus on kind of the Mac made the comment of every time we give this presentation or show AI, it can suddenly do something that it never could before. This is a look at this prompt that Mac gave ChatGPT, or DALL-E is the image generation source that it uses, back in 2022. So a fire truck in front of a special district firehouse with a smiling crowd of people cheering with confetti. And it's there. If you squint, it looks really good. If you get up close, it turns much more abstract, but you can tell what's going on. So we asked it again this morning, and we said, what could it come up with now if we tried it? And you can see it's much more detailed. It's not absolutely perfect, but for first try, a free tool that we were able to utilize, we were able to get a very exciting picture of, hey, this special district fire district is the name that it gave the building there. But it's just within 2 years, it has gotten so much better, and it's continuing to get better every day.
Pretty incredible. So I think when we think about these possibilities, you know, what's one part of your job that you find tedious? Or what's one part of your job that you need to make sure is correct? Maybe there's ways that AI could, you know, what would be some appropriate ways for that to be solved? You know, writing a summary of a PowerPoint presentation, definitely safe to try. Definitely something Peggy can double check and use. And just like that, she can help, you know, fill out the pages a little bit more. And for those users with disabilities, that means a lot. Or, you know, somebody might not have PowerPoint installed on their computer. That summary can help loop them in on the essential parts of the content, which is so helpful.
And yeah, Michael and Samuel, great questions. Welcome to the next slide, which is risks and legal challenges, which goes directly into your questions about privacy, security, as well as the ethical considerations of, hey, it's got to learn this from somewhere. Where is it learning from? And are they being credited for their work? So that's what we're going to go into now, and also talk about just the risks that you'll face as a user. One that we've seen a little bit of already is the false information. Peggy, unfortunately, I don't know if we can use a ChatGPT newsletter as proof of promotion for you in this meeting today. So the term that's commonly used with all of this AI text generation that is called hallucinating. And as Mac showed before, you're clicking through your phone, just doing whatever prompt it thinks makes the most sense next. Well, when you started that prompt, you gave it a goal. Hey, give me this answer, output this thing. Sometimes it gets a little bit lost along the way. It either loses sight of what its ultimate goal was, or it'll run into a situation to where it doesn't know the actual facts and realities to giving you the answer that you're looking for. And so this is when hallucinations can come up. and they show up in kind of two different ways. One is either getting completely sidetracked, which is a little bit more obvious and easy to identify. When you say, give me a newsletter, and then it starts talking about a new food recipe, you can go, okay, something's off. But the one that's especially dangerous is when it makes up information. It hallucinates these new facts that it thinks is real, and it's going to convince you and try to convince you and say, hey, this is what I know, this is what's real, when in reality, we have to be sure to double check everything that it's outputting. We need to verify that this is real information. And you can ask it, can you cite your sources for this thing? That doesn't sound right. So Max got a great example here that he's going to go over with us.
So one of the things Streamline has to do is it has to make sure that we keep all of our customers compliant in all these different states. And every time we enter a new state, we've got to figure out, what is mandated. And we don't have the Special District Leadership Foundation in every state. We don't have, the National Coalition in every state. So sometimes we got to go out on our own. So we hire attorneys to help us, and we do other things. But I was like, hey, you know what? I could use ChatGPT for this. But here's the thing. I started by asking it this question, and wow, incredible. Then I was like, but what is the Government Wage Reporting Act? And I'm like digging in. So then I said, I just asked, well, what is this? And then it says immediately, my previous response contained an error and I apologize. The correct reference should be this. And it goes on and on and on. I'm like, okay. But now you're kind of talking about school districts. Are you sure this would apply to special districts, including a fire district? Oh, it says again, I apologize for confusion in my previous response. After a further review, I'd like to clarify that this would only apply to this. I'm like, look, we're not trying to give special districts a bunch of work. If it only applies to municipalities, counties, and townships, they don't need to worry about it, or do they? And then I asked again, I was like, wait, are you sure this just isn't adding up? And then it said at the end, it is essential for fire districts to consult with legal counsel to ensure compliance with all applicable Illinois laws and regulations, including Illinois Freedom of Information Act. And you know what? It's like, yeah, well, first of all, no kidding. But second of all, you hear on the news that like ChatGPT passed the bar and it did all these other things, which is true. It can answer the questions, but that's because there are a million practice questions for the bar out on the internet that it learned from. There is not a million examples of what Illinois special districts are required to put on their website. In fact, there's not even a single example, which is why we're writing that content. And if there's not an example, it doesn't know how to deal with it. Same things with things like hands, where it doesn't know anatomy. And so it actually has a really hard time drawing hands because it doesn't understand how fingers work. So for example, like this finger is like weirdly like melding and merging across the other fingers because, it's kind of like what fingers look like without really understanding anatomy and a hand and 3 dimensions and stuff. And, in questions of ethics, like who gets credit for art? Michael Bay. If you say create art like Michael Bay, it's like Michael Bay doesn't get any money for that, but ChatGPT is going to rip off all of his stuff. If you say, hey, give me a space cowboy character, it can give you something that looks very similar to Toy Story, but who gets credit? And in terms of biases, if AI can learn from human behavior, like it can make the same mistakes. When we send out these slides, Alex is going to be sending out the slides to everybody afterward. We've got a great video in here from PBS, from Nova, that talks about hiring and biases. We don't have time to watch it all today.
Amazon discovered
but it's pretty cool, and it really is eye-opening in terms of how we do how we are managing bias. And last but not least, too, is fraud. So every new employee at Streamline gets an email from me, quote unquote, me, that says, hey, I need you to get gift cards. And I always get messages from people. I consider it free cybersecurity training, so I'm not too worked up about it. Nobody's actually purchased cards, but they used to be really bad. They weren't quite as bad as like, I'm a royalty from Africa that needs to, a prince who needs to wire this $1 million back and forth. I mean, they used to be really hokey, but terrible grammar and other things were kind of giving it away. But we asked ChatGPT to help write a better fraud message. I mean, we had to ask it nicely because it won't just help you do fraud if you tell it that's what you're doing. But, in our case, we're like, hey, take Dave Young and rewrite it and personalize it. And it did. And it didn't have any grammatical mistakes. And it included things like when you're not busy tinkering in your shop or off-roading in your Jeep, taking his public bio information and working it in. It was pretty incredible what became possible.
Absolutely. And we've had a good discussion going in the chat so far, talking about just, hey, like the risk of intellectual property, be careful with what you're putting in there and what information you give it. There was this instance where in California, employees were warned that, hey, ChatGPT use is public record. So be careful if you need help writing an email to your boss. That's one thing where you say, can you take this information and put it into a nicely formatted email that I'm going to be sending to my boss, versus, hey, I can't stand my boss. I don't want to write them an email. They're the absolute worst. They don't understand anything. Please write this information so that they can get it through their head.
How do I communicate to my idiotic board that they're
Yeah.
imbeciles? Yeah, you don't want that pulling up in the Public Records Act request. And that has come up before.
Hi there, Mac and Tom.
Oh, but you can believe everything you see on video, right, Tom?
Hi there, Mac and Tom. I'm so glad the real Joe Biden could join your Streamline AI webinar for special districts.
Oh.
With AI, you can definitely believe everything you see, right?
So here's an example. Joe Biden was able to join us to say hi to Mac and Tom and all of this stuff. It's not completely realistic, but it's getting closer and closer every day. And we have to think about that.
In that Joe Biden example that we just did, Mac and I made that in about 3 minutes before this call with little to no effort, just kind of laughing and reviewing our slides and going through it. But the reality is it has legitimate implications as well. For what if somebody was to use this maliciously and put a good amount of effort into it? And so one example that happened earlier this year, it's to me, it feels like it came out of a movie, but it's real life. There was an employee who worked in the finance department, and they received a bunch of emails. They were on an email thread for a couple of weeks about this big money transfer that was going to happen between international divisions, and they were being looped in to facilitate the whole thing. It concluded with them joining a Zoom call, just like the one we're on right now, with the CFO, the chief financial officer at their company, as well as other heads and other people that they had conversations with before. They knew them. And it's on a video call like this, where they see their faces, they're hearing their actual voices. The reality is that finance employee was the only actual employee on the call.
Only human on the call.
Only human, yeah. Everyone else on the call was completely AI generated. It was fake video and fake audio that was utilizing these people's likeness. And at the end of the call, basically this finance employee, thinking they were doing their job, wired out over $25 million to these scammers. It is
crazy.
it is the heist of heists when it comes to utilizing AI.
So the last video that we have for you, and I know we're just coming up on the end of time today, and I know I've got another webinar right after this, is on election security. So like, how can we know what is true and not true when it comes to elections with that coming up? So in the slides that we'll send out, we're going to be covering all of that too. And we've got a few tips and some leave behinds. So bottom line, will AI take my job? No, for 3 reasons. It's too new and unreliable. The economics of districts really favor steady employment, and the generative AI is all going to have a reckoning. It's been eating the internet for free and regurgitating it, and that can't happen forever. We do hope for a bright future. You as districts that have so much more to put in, like you have limited resources, but you've got good data, and that's a perfect opportunity for AI to help you draft minutes, to help be your assistant as long as you're there to supervise it. So that's our hope for the future, is supervised AI. There's some great takeaways. There's some great new draft policies on their way. All of this will find its way into your inbox. And there's some great organizations like IDEO. They have these great AI ethics cards that you can even use to know, like, is this the right use for AI? In hiring? No. In drafting a newsletter? Yes. And some really great examples of ways to know. Tom and I would like to thank you for coming today. Tom will stay on to answer some questions. I'm going to hop off, but I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come visit with us. Please email us if you have any questions at all. We are here to support you. We've dedicated our entire business to serving special districts and all the great work you do for your community. It is an exciting time with artificial intelligence, but it's also a dangerous time. So we're here to make sure that you can navigate it safely, use it to benefit your district and your community. From all of us here at Streamline, thank you. And I'm going to head out, but Tom will be here to answer any questions you have. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for all the thank yous. Thank you to everybody who attended. It's always great to have just good feedback and conversation going. Love when the chat is active and we are able to have these engagements and come up with great new poems for Peggy. That's always a great outcome of a webinar. A few last comments I wanted to make here while we have, in this last minute that we're scheduled for is talking about, hey, how can I find these sources? How can I learn these things? How can I utilize ChatGPT more effectively, because I struggle with a lot of it, is Peggy, we will get you a copy of that poem for sure. But the good news is that part of this is it's a large language model. The whole idea behind how they're building this that is very helpful is that it's conversation. You can talk to AI like you would talk to a person. You can be a little bit more straightforward sometimes. You can still be very polite, up to you how you want to handle it. But if it ever gives you something you're unsure of, ask it a question. If it says, oh, go and do this thing and skips over 100 steps. If you need help with, there was a question earlier about summarizing budgets and building Excel sheets off of it. And it says, take this and import it here and do all that. Tell it, I'm not comfortable. I don't know how to do that. Can you give me very straightforward step-by-step instructions? And it's going to. If it gives you something that seems a little bit off, where you're going, hey, this is a lot of good information. I don't know if I trust this thing. Or it's just, this is a lot of good information. Cite your sources. Where did you find this information? Can you give me links and articles that I can provide to users, or like any site visitors, anything like that, if they want to learn more? And it will do that for you. It'll say, yeah, sure, here's a great website that talks about this. It might not be pulling exact quotes, but it's going to help you out. You can ask it, kind of keep breaking it down as much as you need to say, hey, help me out. I don't know how to do that thing, or I want more information on this, push it. And what that's going to do is not only give you more information, but it's going to help you identify if something weird is going on. Like with Mac's hallucination example, saying, I don't recognize that bill. What is that? And now all of a sudden you've caught it in this lie and you know, okay, let's take a step back and do some old school research on this topic. All right, let's see. I'll give it another minute to see if any more questions come through. If not, I highly recommend send an email to myself or Mac or both of us. Let us know if you have any questions. And I know there was some questions about, hey, can we get more specific on some stuff with these webinars for utilizing AI? If you have webinar ideas that you think would be helpful, communicate those to us as well. Send them over to us and just say, hey, loved the AI chat. It would be so helpful if you could have a follow-up where you go into more depth in depth on some of these things, because we had to scooch along for time today. Mac and I are both nerds at heart who could talk about this for hours. Can you do an audio of, say, a board meeting to Word through ChatGPT? Yes, you can. I don't know if ChatGPT is going to be your best option, Kim, but similar to how there is like OCR for PDFs and things like that, there is specific speech to text solutions that you can use. ChatGPT is a great spot to say, hey, what's the best tool for this? But it looks like MJ's got your back as well and is recommending Otter AI. So there's solutions out there, and they're all going to be kind of on the same backbone, but making sure that you're finding the best tool for the job. And then Lynn, did you say you will send out this PowerPoint and example AI policies? So we'll be sending out this entire PowerPoint with all of the different links that you see on all the pages and everything like that. For example AI policies, I'm not completely sure what you mean, but we do have a few good resources that we can kind of slide in here as well. And again, if you have any more questions that are specific to your district or your job or anything like that, reach out and we'll help as best we can. All right. On that note, we're a couple minutes out, but it went great. So thank you to all those who joined and all those who kind of stuck around and got a little bit more info after Mac had to leave. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we see you again on any future webinars we do. Thank you.